Book 3, Land and Labor, Stave Tray. Of speculation in land and the supply of capital. We frequently hear it said, times are hard because land speculation has locked up so much capital. Now it is evident that no amount of buying and selling in a community can lock up capital, and the direct effect of a rise in land values is to alter the distribution of wealth, not to affect its amount. But to some extent, the same effect is produced as would be by the locking up of capital. When a rise in land values takes place, certain men find themselves much richer, without any addition to the capital of the community having been made. Some of these will employ part of their new wealth in unproductive uses, in building finer houses, buying diamonds for their wives, or traveling in the East or Europe. This reduces the supply of productive capital. At the same time, the profits of land speculation and the new security which the rise in values gives will increase the number of borrowers, and competition between them will tend to keep up rates of interest. But a fall in land prices does not at once increase the available supply of capital, as capitalists are made timid, and there is a tendency to hoard rather than lend. Of the necessary value of land. Where the monopolization of land is not permitted, where a man can only take land which he wants to use, unused land can have no value, at least none above the price fixed by the state for the privilege of occupying it. But as land becomes occupied, most of it would acquire a value, either from the possession of natural advantages superior to those still unoccupied, or from its more central position as respects population. This we may call the necessary or real value of land, in contradistinction to the unnecessary or fictitious value of land, which results from monopolization. To illustrate, if, on the outskirts of San Francisco, anyone who wished to build a house might take a lot from the unused ground, outside land would be worth nothing, but Montgomery or Kearny Street property would still be very valuable, as, being in the heart of the city, it is more convenient for residences or more useful for business purposes. The difference, however, between this necessary value of the land of the United States and the aggregate value at which it is held must be most enormous, and the difference represents the unnecessary tax which land monopolization levies upon labor. Of property in land. The right of every human being to himself is the foundation of the right of property. That which a man produces is rightfully his own, to keep, to sell, to give, or to bequeath, and upon this sure title alone can ownership of anything rightfully rest. But man has also another right, declared by the fact of his existence, the right to the use of so much of the free gifts of nature as may be necessary to supply all the wants of that existence, and as he may use without interfering with the equal rights of anyone else, and to this he has a title as against all the world. This right is natural, it cannot be alienated. It is the free gift of his Creator to every man that comes into the world, a right as sacred, as indefeasible as his right to life itself. Land being the creation of God and the natural habitation of man, the reservoir from which man must draw the means of maintaining his life and satisfying his wants, the material to which it was preordained that his labor should be applied, it follows that every man born into this world has a natural right to as much land as is necessary for his own uses, and that no man has a right to any more. To deny this is to deny the right of man to himself, to assert the atrocious doctrine that the Almighty has created some men to be the slaves of others. For, to permit one man to monopolize the land from which the support of others is to be drawn, is to permit him to appropriate their labor, and, insofar as he is permitted to do this, to appropriate them. It is to institute slavery. Whether a man owns the bodies of his fellow beings, or owns only the land from which they must obtain a subsistence, makes but little difference to him or to them. In one case, it is slavery just as much as the other. And of the two forms of slavery, that which pretends to the ownership of flesh and blood seems to me, on the whole, far the more preferable. For in England, where the monopolization of land has reached a point which gives to the mere laborer a share of the product of his labor just sufficient to maintain his existence, the landowner gets from the laborer all that any master can get from his slave. At the same time, he is not affected by the selfish interest which prompts the master to look out for the well-being of his slave, and is not influenced by those warmer feelings which any ordinarily well-disposed man feels towards any living thing of which he claims the ownership, be it even a dog. For in free, rich England of the 19th century, England, whose boast it is that no slave can breathe her air, England that has spent millions of pounds for the abolition of slavery in far-off lands, and that sends abroad annually hundreds of thousands of pounds for the conversion of the heathen. The condition of the agricultural laborer is today harder, more hopeless, and more brutalizing than that of the average slave under any system of slavery which has prevailed in modern times. And, going even further, I do not believe that the cold-blooded horrors brought to light by the various parliamentary commissions which have investigated the condition of the laboring poor of England can be matched even by the records of ancient slavery, under which system slaves were sometimes fed to fishes, or tortured for sport, or even by the annals of Spanish conquests in the New World. It is certain that the condition of the slaves upon our southern plantations was not half so bad as that of the land monopoly slaves of England. Legrees there may have been in plenty, but I have yet to hear of the Legree who worked children to physical and moral death in his fields, or ground them, body and soul, in his mills. There is in nature no such thing as a fee simple in land. The Almighty, who created the earth for man and man for the earth, has entailed it upon all the generations of the children of men, by a decree written upon the constitution of all things, a decree which no human action can bar, and no prescription determine. Let the parchments be ever so many, or possession ever so long, in the courts of natural justice, there can be but one title to land recognized, the use of it to satisfy reasonable wants. Now, from this, it by no means follows that there should be no such thing as property in land, but merely that there should be no monopolization, no standing between the man who is willing to work and the field which nature offers for his labor. For while it is true that the land of a country is a free gift of the Creator to all the people of that country, to the enjoyment of which each has an equal natural right, it is also true that the recognition of private ownership in land is necessary to its proper use, is, in fact, a condition of civilization. When the millennium comes, and the old savage, selfish instincts have died out in men, land may perhaps be held in common, but not till then. In our present state, at least, the magic of property which turns even sand into gold must be applied to our lands, if we would reap the largest benefits they are capable of yielding, must be retained if we would keep from relapsing into barbarism. And a full appreciation of the value of land ownership tends to the same practical conclusion as the considerations I have been presenting. If the worker upon land is a better worker and a better man because he owns the land, it should be our effort to make this stimulus felt by all, to make, as far as possible, all land users also landowners. Nor is there any difficulty in combining a full recognition of private property in land with a recognition of the right of all to the benefits conferred by the Creator. As I will hereafter attempt to show, we are not called upon to guarantee to all men equal conditions, and could not, if we would, any more than we could guarantee to them equal intelligence, equal industry, or equal prudence, but we are called upon to give to all men an equal chance. If we do not, our republicanism is a snare and a delusion. Our clatter about the rights of man, the veriest buncombe in which a people ever indulged.